아저씨에게 평생 살아온 고향을 떠나서 새로 시작하지 않는다면 그럴 수 있겠어요?
I was up late watching. I was just going to watch half of it just to get an idea. And before I knew it, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. And I watched 3 episodes.
반드시 헤쳐나갈 기다.
I never expected for any of my books to be commercially successful, so it's kind of a surprise to me. I published it in 2017, and it's published in over 30 countries around the world, and I've had the great opportunity to meet so many readers around the world. First of all, they don't know very much about the Korean Japanese people, so I feel really fortunate that people do care. As for its rising popularity, it has been very popular to me, so it's fine. I'm grateful. You know, it's interesting because there's so many important scholars who have spent their entire lives exploring these subjects, and I want very much for them to get attention. So it would be unfair to say that I brought attention to this subject when so many people have been studying it for a long time. So I want to say that first. And then as for this book, I wrote a novel, and I wrote a novel that is accurate historically, but it's also highly readable. I have spent most of my life trying to create literature that is readable, enjoyable, and also emotionally powerful. That is something that I've worked on, and I'm very grateful that people connect with it, because I guess I want people to really know Korean people. Because I know Korean people too, and I think we're really interesting. They're really interesting to me. Like, I think we're really powerful and cool and fun, as well as tragic. So it's not just sadness, but it's not just happiness, and I want all of that to be explored. So that's who I write about. And I want to do a good job. I really want to do a good job. I did have a lot of regrets the first 20 years because it was very hard on my ambition. I'm a very ambitious person, and I want to do something that's very high quality. So my failure to do those things was really difficult for my ego. However, I think that becoming an older person, I'm 53 years old now, or 54 in Korea, and one of the things that you get when you get older is you realize that your ego is so unhelpful. So it's very important to focus on the work and to keep making good things. I want to make good things.
고향 땅 한 번만 더 밟아보셨으면 얼마나 좋았을까.
It's really about home. What is home? And I think that for me, especially as an immigrant, as a person, as an overseas Korean person, I think a lot about, like, what is home to me?
Desire for home and fashion.
Yeah, and the loss of home.
Loss of home.
Right. I came when I was 7. And also with the history of war. So my father's from North Korea. So he's from Wonsan. So he came and he lost his entire family when he was 16. So he came down with his older brother as a refugee during the Korean War, 1950, in December 1950. My mother's from Busan. So I'm actually from 2 different parts of the country, but I was born in Seoul. So when I think about how that has affected us, of all the changes in socioeconomic class, the changes in education, and then we came to America, right? So if you think about, like, at Wonsan, Seoul, Busan, and then you add Queens, New York. And all those changes in terms of geography, history, and class. As a novelist, it's really important that I understand those things happen to people. I hate you, go back to where you belong. And they also said, you smell like kimchi. And I thought, that's impossible. How could other people hate you so much if you were born in that country? And also, they look really similar. And that idea just got into my brain and it wouldn't leave. I was depressed.
Depressed.
Yes. The more I studied the history of the Korean Japanese, I felt really sad a lot because I felt like, well, what can I do? What can I do to change things? But if I'm not really doing anything to change things, then I feel really sad about it because I did see people even today feeling discrimination, like it's housing, jobs. When I started interviewing all these people, they all talked about the first generation. And they talked about usually a woman or a father, like a mother or a father, who had done these really difficult things. And many of them were illiterate. You know, they're from Gyeongsangdo usually, Jeju, and they didn't know how to read, they didn't know how to write. They're often very, very poor. Women would raise pigs in their house. They would sometimes make alcohol illegally, get arrested. Their children would collect garbage from the streets. And that's when I really started to understand, oh, it's Sanja who's the main character. Sanja has to be the main character. I think that all of us have a sense of grief that's really unique.
A sense of grief. Yeah.
A sense of grief and a sense of loss.
Yeah.
But also, I want to say that in having interviewed thousands of Koreans all around the world, I've also learned that we also have Jang. And I love that so much. I love that about Koreans, that we can have this kind of affection just because we hang out with each other. And a tolerance. And in order for us to have a community, this uri sense, I think it's so beautiful about those feelings. So yes, there's sadness and grief and lament, and all those things are true. But we also have a sense of joy and a sense of camaraderie, which I think is one of the most beautiful parts about being Korean. We have no knowledge of ordinary people throughout the beginning of time. However, all of my research indicates that ordinary people are really resilient and powerful and interesting, and they fight so hard to survive. So that's the reason why I said no matter.